So obviously, I'm not going to be doing like podcast episode concepts and then trying to, fix it up and make it all pretty and clear sounding so it can go on podcast. I'm literally just talking my thoughts here. So I watch a lot of sermons from time to time, and you learn quite a bit. And throughout this whole journey, right, a lot of people. Now, I'm not saying that Jesus does not bless, right? Because he does. You are a walking blessing sometimes. Um, Jesus can heal your health. He can keep you from situations. He can cover you and protect you, stuff like that. And he can give you opportunities. He can give you things that you can build upon, right? A lot of times, and what I've learned from past sermons and really placing things together, and then my own journey and walking with it and seeing those similarities. God gives you. He doesn't just give you the finished product. He never rarely does, right? It's always he gives you the wood. And if you do get a finished product, it's like that person, you don't know the behind the scenes of what that person had to go through to get that, right? The years of having to, the blood, sweat, and tears, right? Now, when it comes to society, we equate to what we see, right? We're very tangent creatures. Faith is very hard. Believing without seeing is very hard for us to do. And that's why faith is such a, I feel that faith is such a beloved thing of God, because it shows pure willpower to see past what you see, right? Everything can look completely opposite of what this man is saying to you, right? But it's the belief that I know that God's going to get me out. I know that this is just a stumbling block, right? Even though it may look like a mountain. In God's eyes, like, this is a stumbling block. What are you panicking for? And some things be really, really like, God, this is like a mountain. And, and sometimes God has a way of, he knows how to talk to you. There are times God has spoken to me and was just like, little girl, what have I taught you? Toya, what have I taught you? And then there are times where he's very gentle, and he's like, I understand this is very hard. I know this is very hard. This may be new to you, right? Or this may be very, very, you're in the deep end of this pool, but I have your hand. I'm right with you, right? And what I've noticed is a lot of times those are the building blocks for me to build, right? Those very trying, hard times. I have wood in my hand and I have to build something with this thing, right? So even when it comes to, I've always loved art. I've always done art since I was a little girl. Whether it was drawing, sketching, photography. I did photography for a number of years. I used to work at Presbyterian Hospital, and I found my love of street photography. And while I was working at the hospital, there were people that saw my work at the hospital and was just like, oh my God, I'll hire you for birthdays. I'll hire you for this. I used to do photo shoots, stuff like that. And it was cool, but my real love was street photography. My dream was to move to China or Japan or Taiwan, over there, and do street photography, straight up, right? And pretty much like have you working exhibitions and all that stuff, right? Exhibits, stuff like that. Or I should say galleries. That didn't work out. And I didn't want to be in America for a long time, right? This is back in my early, mid-20s. And I was planning, after I had visited Taiwan, I was planning to go for my TOEFL and to teach English over there, right? And I came to a turning point when I did enter school, right? So I got pregnant with my son. And after the plan was, right, was to be with him for the year, just strictly just mommy son. And because it's not easy when a kid, when both parents work and that kid is very, very tiny and they see the caregiver more than they see the parent. So that's what we decided on, right? And after that year, I was going to go to school. And I did. I didn't pick a major, though. My major, I went for liberal arts because I was listening more to what other people, what society would say was a good career, right? What brings in the most money. And I went into having the mindset that I'm going to become a doctor. I'm going to become a doctor. And I was taking art classes because I can never do without an art class. And I took psychology, fell in love with psychology all the way. It was something that was in the back of my mind that I had to know about, right? And then that doctor plan turned into psychiatry, right? And it was not just become a psychologist. Or a counselor, I wanted to be a psychiatrist because psychiatry is the big bucks, right? If you're going to be in mental health, you got to get the big bucks, right? And literally, the only thing that is different between a psychiatrist and a psychologist is that one can administer prescriptions. That's it. That's literally it. The crazy part about it is that the psychiatrist, if it's like in a clinical setting or like a hospital, most people do talk therapy with a counselor or a psychologist, but it's not usual that you actually have talk therapy with a psychiatrist. Psychiatrist literally just looks over your chart. Okay, prescribe this, prescribe that, prescribe this based off the neurologist, right? Or, whatever your blood work, blah, 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 is saying, right? So that would have been a very wrong route for me because I love doing talk therapy. I love going deep with people. I want to be eye to eye with that person, speaking with them, because it's like I understand pain. I understand. So that line of work wouldn't have worked for me, even though that pays the most, right? And then on top of that, going strictly into the psychology route, I wouldn't have been able to be in the realm of art and opening that bridge that art can definitely be a tool of healing, right? Because we do it every day. But what I wanted to tie this into, people equate everything when it comes to monetary gain. The type of job you have should be at the highest earning level, right? The things that you own should be at the highest tier that you can afford, right? You can have a chair for 10 years and it still works, but because it's not trendy, or it's not, when updated, we tend to follow things that are on Instagram, right? Like we all try to, the majority of us, I'm not saying everybody, but the majority of us, we go sale. Like it's art when it comes to marketing, period, right? And I've learned the aspects of art and how it controls. Art is very fluid, right? It's not just making a painting. Art is a form of communicating. Sales is art because it's the art of persuasion. Some people have a knack for it. I do not. I do not. I can talk by myself and record all I want, but having that type of trying to pitch somebody is not something that ideally is innate within me. It's not natural for me to do. I can be very, hey girl, or hey, sir, hey, brother, hey, sis, real quick, it's a beautiful day, I love your coat, da, da, da. But my main goal is, if I'm really having a conversation with that person, I want to go deep, I really want to get to that conversation of like, wow, I feel like that I can tell you about everything, and I feel like I've told you about everything. I want that type of feel, and I've been there, right? And I think the reason why I've been there is because I've craved that for when I was growing up, right? So to be able to put myself in that role, I should say, is easier. It feels natural for me. But I need to tie this in. So I was watching a short on YouTube, and I'm always on YouTube, right? And it was Pastor Mike Todd, and he was saying that, like, when you follow God, right, you give up everything for that walk. You give everything to follow him. But you give your life up to God, you put away childish shit. Like, you put away everything, right? And you grow, and you move forward, and you learn new things, and as you grow, you start gaining wisdom, and your whole, you become literally a more evolved person of yourself. Your maturity level, your character, your whole character just changes, right? Your patience level goes through the roof, just being loving and being kind, and trying to be very, very honorable to people, even though people may harm you, or, may have a disposition about you, whether they knew you or not, right? But still having that, I'm going to look past that, right? I'm going to look past this, and I'm still going to extend myself to you, right? Extend that that love to you. Because when you first started this journey, when you first was in class, right? The College of Jesus, you ain't know none of this stuff. And God constantly had to keep giving the olive branch to you, right? This is not what we do. What is this? I know you're learning, but like, we did this yesterday, until you got it, right? Until you got the lesson. But you give up everything. And a lot of times you give up what you see. And I'm saying this literally, what you see. You give up wanting to have the newest coat. You give up having this type of status, right? You give up this type of social circle. You give up eating this type of food, right? It can go many ways, right? Whatever was hindering your evolvement or your improvement in your journey or your process, those things you have to put away. Not even put away, so you gotta throw them away, right? You gotta just, I'm done with it, right? And you end up getting wood. And the wood that you get in your hands are not, they're not fully developed. And sometimes you're in complete confusion, and you're looking at God like, why are you giving me a piece of wood? I don't know what the hell I'm doing, right? And I think it was a sermon. I think it was T.D. Jakes, I think. And it was like manna, right? And God was giving the Egyptians manna every day. And at a certain point in time, manna was going to stop. Like, I ain't giving you manna every day, right? You're going to have to start looking at something else, right? Because they couldn't recognize what manna was, or something like it was something like that. And that's what happens, right? God will give you wood, right? I would say a lot of times He's not going to start you off with just plain wood. He's going to give you wood and like something that you know, so it doesn't feel like you're like you got pushed in the pool and your whole body is like, 100, you was like 90 degrees outside and you got pushed in like a 20-degree pool. It's not going to be a complete shock. You're still going to have this kind of cushion, right? You're going to feel the change of temperature, but your body will get used to it. It is an adjustment period, right? And the more times you go in the pool, more times you jump in the pool, that water is still cold, still wet, but your body just gets used to it, right? And before you know it, you jump into the pool and it actually feels warm when you jump in the pool. And it's just like, shoot, I feel actually warmer in the water than I do outside. That's crazy, right? You've been in the pool all day when you was a little kid, and the pool actually felt warmer after like all that playing time, and then you were like literally like, your teeth are chattering and stuff like that. You need a towel, and you're like, how could you be cold? And the water is actually colder. That's kind of what it is. You get used to having the wood, and you make it work for you. But I want people to know that wood is not having fancy cars or a huge bank account or a very high-end lofty job or a lofty house or this type of spouse or this type of car or whatever. What it really is being able, that's the real flex, is being able to discard, to see past those things and really having that faith. That faith is like pure, like, make like a whole sculpture out of this wood. They were saying that the disciples, Mike Todd, he said the disciples, when they went to follow Jesus, some of them left businesses, and them businesses was doing well. Okay, I think it was Simon, that was the greatest cash he ever had in his whole entire career. And he left to go with Jesus, right? You sacrifice, the sacrifice to put away things that you see, right? Oh, but the money's right there. Like we're gonna bank right now. Can you put away those things? Because is that profit? Is that profit that you're gonna make off selling that fish? Is that gonna sustain you for the rest of your life? And deep down it's not. Can you really put those things down and just say, it's all good, I'm gonna walk away from the whole thing and follow you? Can you really do that? Because there's gonna be some days that you're gonna be eating oodles and noodles. Everybody got a struggle story. I'm gonna do my struggle story right now. Everybody has a struggle story at some point, and it's okay to have a struggle story. It's all right. Not everybody has a silver spoon in their mouth, or not everybody just wins off the bat, right? And just because you win does not mean that you're blessed, right? I'm not saying that person's not blessed. Person probably is very blessed, but that doesn't mean that their walk is not as worthy of the same degree as someone that is not, right? It goes hand in hand. And sometimes that is your test. Are you able to let go of shit to go take just wood that you got to build yourself, that you got to get splinters for and bleed for and sweat for? Are you able to do that? Are you able to sacrifice? I'm very easy to give away money. Very easy, okay? I'd be like, I had $10 left and I'm giving $5 away to somebody, and somebody look at me like I'm fucking crazy. Bitch, you need help. Why are you giving me money? I need to give you money. And it's just like, I'm very, very... Here, no. I know exactly what it feels like. Here you go. It's all good. I got you. God will hold us, right? God will hold me. God will hold you, right? Today, God held you. Tomorrow, God may hold me, right? So, I'm not going to tell people to be foolish with your money. But if God puts it in your heart to give, it's for a reason, y'all. It's for a reason. So even if you have like that extra, and God is pushing you to give. And even if you be like, yo, I only got like $300 till my next paycheck, and it, I'm this person had, $20. If God's pushing you to do it, trust and believe it's for a reason. It's for a reason. You may help someone very greatly because of it. So, it's a beautiful thing when you're able to do that. When you're able to put away those things, right? So my test wasn't per se mainly money. It wasn't like mainly like that type of thing. I've never seen money as you know how like they say like money is like the root of all evil. Money is a tool. It's a straight tool. I've always understood that, right? And it's not something where it's just like if I had a whole bunch of money, then it's just like, okay, cool, like, you know, I can live comfortably, right? My son will be able to have a lot of opportunities, but it's not something where it is like I have to have ample amount of money, right? I was never like, I would say never on my list, but it's not like top priority on my list. If anything, what's on my list, I ain't gonna say because you know the devil be listening. Devil be hacking. Anyway, what I will say is that if you're not prepared to give up the things that hold that type of weight, you're not ready for that walk. You're not ready. I'm not saying that you'll never be ready, but you're not ready at this moment. And there's going to be things that God's going to ask you to do. And you have to be keen on hearing that voice and not overshadowing it with an excuse of justification, I should say. Because we tend to do that. We love to classify as human beings. We love to go off of our primitive drives. And those primitive drives are literally the first development of the brain, right? The hippocampus, the hypothalamus, the amygdala, right? The whole limbic system. Your prefrontal lobe is something that forms, literally it finishes like what? Certain parts that finish at the age of 25. So it's just like if you really look at the lobes, prefrontal, this occipital, and damn it, I know there's one that controls audio. The back of the head controls your eyes. Your front controls your personality and your reasoning skills, like many things over that. But the lower parts of the brain, right, the inner core and the lower part, where the medulla oblongata is, all those things. Those are like main parts of the primary function of the brain. Those things are literally hunger, sex, and thirst. That's it. They're literally survival tactics, right? And the things that govern it around it are emotion that help trigger these things, right? And your flight or flight, what's going to keep you relaxed or what's going to put you in fight mode or fleeing mode. Those are likely the main things. And if you're not careful, you're going to go into auto drive because that's what we're prone to do because that's the strongest part of our brain. We're constantly at fight of critical thinking. We're constantly fighting critical thinking. I think I told my son one time, I told him what it takes to be a genius. No one is really born a genius. I told him no one's really born a genius. What happens is that a person just became a little bit more curious than the last person that was that curious. So if one person asks why, right? What made the other person smarter was asking the why of that why. And you just keep asking that one more question until you've seen it at every angle, under, below, and it equates and branches out to other things. So it's no one's like born knowing everything, right? No one's born that. I don't think Jesus was even born that way. But he grew in wisdom. It's the curiosity. You're curious to wanting to know. And when you get to that point of always being a student and not a teacher, that's when you become wise. So it's a never-ending curiosity journey. And in being able to admit that you don't know the answer And I think that that is what makes life admirable. It is not the shiny things in life. It is not the things that we accumulate or we consume or what we show as little trinkets of that we have, right? It's not, they're not keychains or charms. It is being able to quench the thirst of curiosity. I think that's all I want to kind of talk about. But really, really think about that. You do not have to have a lot of things in order for you to follow God, or you to be blessed, or you to be considered to be a person that's very close to God. It's a relationship thing. And not once has a healthy relationship ever been equated to a materialistic thing. A healthy relationship has always been about the core values of curiosity. Being loving enough to know that you don't know everything, and being curious to know the other person. The great part about it is that God just knows you through and through. So it's like he doesn't have to learn you. He made you, you know? But really think about it. I think it was another person in the Bible. This guy was like, he was like rich, right? And he was like curious about Jesus. And he's like, well, if you're going to follow me, you gotta give away all your stuff. Give away all your riches. And it pained his heart. He was like, what? My nigga. What? Excuse my language, but he was like, bro, really? And he was like, you can't follow me if you can't do that. Because God is a jealous God, yo. You have anything that you are holding, and God sees everything. You got something in your back pocket, God knows. God knows what you hold, what you don't tell people, your secrets. He knows. There's no getting way around it. For God is the light of this world, and honey, all things under the dark always comes to light. It's just a matter of time. So it's just like, you know what you sacrificed in this life, and you know that you are walking with God, and God is walking with you. And he lets you know he's walking with you. He lets you know. Oh yes. It's crazy. When you've done your walk and you are currently doing your walk, and you know that you're on the right path. Even if you have $1 million in your bank account, and even if you have 50 cents in your bank account, know that God is with you, and you are no less than anyone else.